Hi, everybody. John Self here. We're delighted you're with us. We have great questions for you today. And if you have questions you would like to ask about your career, let us know. Send us a text in the chat box. We will not use your name. It'll be confidential unless you specifically say, "Hey, mention my name." So we've got some great questions, and I've got an answer for you that came in earlier, and it coincided with a live stream I heard from my good friend Ron Thomas in Dubai today. And it may shock you. The answer. We've done some research on that already. So. Uh, First off, if you again, we come here every Friday at 11:30, and we answer your questions about job search, about career management, about networking, anything you want to talk about in those areas. We don't talk politics, we don't talk religion, and occasionally we talk about steak and good wine, but other than that, not so much. So thanks for joining us today. Let's start off with one I've seen more and more talk about this lately. It is significant because as we have more and more two-career families, and that's pretty common nowadays, you get this dynamic tension between husband has a career, wife has a career. Sometimes one of those careers takes off in a way that would provide incredible security, but the other person is dug in about not moving, about not leaving friends. So it can be really problematic. And so the question then is, how should my girlfriend and I handle our conflicting careers and potential conflicts? We hope to get married next year. Ron from Los Angeles. Well, Ron, no last names, so yes, Los Angeles is a pretty big place, so you can remain anonymous. The best time to have that conversation is right now. And a lot of it depends on your job. So there's no one answer. Now, a lot of it depends on what is your career. Now, if you're a lawyer and you join a firm and you have a promising future there, it's hard sometimes for certain professions to move around. Now, it can happen, but it's harder. Doctors can move, but it's a little bit more challenging. CPAs, you build up a following, you build up a lot of people in a community, and you hate to run off and leave all that equity behind. The same with a lawyer. So what you need to do is talk about how you're going to manage this. What does it mean if you're going to have a family and you both have very demanding jobs? Most couples, unfortunately, don't have this discussion, and there's a lot of conflict later in careers where the wife maybe really has a bright, shining star, and the husband's real comfortable, can work anywhere, but doesn't really want to leave where they're living. So you can get a lot of digging in of heels, you can get a lot of frustration, you can get a lot of resentment. So have those conversations before you get married. Talk about how you're going to manage. I've had career people say, one time, we made a move for Dan, and this time it's going to be for me. And they set parameters early before they got married about if we're going to make a move, it would have to fall within these parameters for one of us to make a move. More money, more security, more equity, a better future for our family. And so I think that's a good way to look at it. And I encourage you to approach it from that way. Don't wait till you get into the middle of I've got the dream job I've always wanted, and my spouse is saying no, I'm not going to move, because that can leave some scars. Okay, let's see here. Another one this morning we had that came in and said, let's see. I'm uncomfortable touting my success since I was brought up to believe that it's a sin to brag about yourself. How can I navigate this issue? Well, I would tell you this. Navigating that issue, it's really a matter of style. Now, bragging is okay, especially in a job interview. If you don't really brag more today, you're not going to advance in a job interview. It's very, very competitive. Companies now, we're talking management, executive levels, because that's basically most of the stuff that we work on is in that segment. Managers can go for the high-hanging fruit, not the low-hanging fruit, the high-hanging fruit. And so you really have to, in order to get to that level, to be the kind of person that a company is going to want to invest in, you've really got to be able to communicate your value. And that means telling them why they should hire you, What skills do you have? What value have you had? What about your experience from previous jobs? What innovations have you created to support your company? You've got to be able to talk about that. We have a great course called Mastering the Art of the Job Interview. It's on our online package. If you're not a member of our Your Career community, please join and take the course. And if you want some additional help, let me know and we can arrange some time to talk one-on-one as part of our discounted coaching package. So that would be my advice. You can sell yourself. You have to get over this. We can help you do that. Okay. I think the interview question, tell me about your weaknesses, is dumb. I've heard that before. It's a rude question. I do not think it has a place in the screening process. Can I decline to answer that question? I wouldn't, and let me tell you why. Some people think it's dumb, and some people think it's rude, but let me tell you what it is. It's a way for recruiters to understand your emotional intelligence. How comfortable are you talking about your weaknesses? Can you do it in a very clever, sly way that can be to your benefit in an interview? I mean, I've used this example a zillion times. Maybe I wish I had $1, but I had a really bright CEO candidate once, and I said, "Tell me about your weaknesses," and he said, "Maybe we better call my wife first." And so when I used to tape my interviews to present to the board, and everybody laughed, and everybody had been sitting back like this, and then they leaned in because they decided they liked him. And remember, likability is a really important part of getting hired. So you can use that question, be honest, but don't dwell on the negative. Quickly pivot. Here's what I've learned. My father used to tell people that I could chat up a brick wall, and he was right. Throughout my 27 years of traveling as a recruiter and another 10 or 15 years traveling for management contract sales and aviation leasing, I would sit at hotel bars to have dinner, mainly because I didn't want to sit at a table by myself. There always somebody would come sit down, maybe one or two chairs down from me. But you could always at least have a brief conversation. You could always get to know people. And that's a strength. But sometimes strengths become a weakness. And so that's how I used it. That my strength, I have learned how to monitor that so it's not a weakness. So I hope that helps you. How long should a job interview last? I think we had this question last week too. It varies. Sometimes a screening interview initially on the phone is 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes it can go longer. If it goes longer, that may be a good sign, but don't go to the bank on it. Sometimes the recruiters just have a little bit more time and they kind of enjoy the conversation, so they may extend it. It may not mean that you're going to get advanced in the search. So just be mindful of that, but always be mindful of the recruiter's time. They're under a lot of pressure for time to hire, to cost to hire. And so if you give rambling answers, they're not going to be able to get to all your questions. But that's what it is, usually 20 to 40 minutes on a screening interview. A typical interview for on-site or a or a Zoom is about 1 hour. Okay. What's the benefits of an outplacement firm? The job market's really changed dramatically. Did I mention dramatically? And if you haven't been in the market in the last 3 to 5 or 7 years, you're going to be surprised. And all your instincts about the way you used to do things, they're totally dead in the water. They're dead bang wrong. You have to do everything differently now, and an outplacement firm can help coach you to do that. Now, there are two ways that the outplacement firms do that. You're assigned to one of the partners or one of the principals of the firm, and they work with you on a one-on-one basis. Or, as is the case with many firms, they, quote, create training and certification programs that are internal, and they hire people and then train them up to be outplacement coaches. I once got several offers to be an outplacement coach from a well-known healthcare company, and they were paying $17 an hour. So you have to be careful when you pick a firm who's going to be assigned to you. Sometimes if it's a corporate contract, you won't have any say over it. And there are a lot of horror stories where people have dealt with people get some more answers out here, have dealt with people that didn't even know their industry, weren't very good, were just kind of hit and miss. and they were really, really frustrated. So it's really important that you know who you're going to be working with. I think that's really important. At our firm, we have an online on demand program, but we also have a full do it for you program. It's a lot more expensive, and and you're not really going to learn as much. I have a philosophy that you need to learn in these tools, because this is not career management is no longer a one and done job search. Okay, just disabuse yourself of that notion ASAP. It is absolutely a skill set that you must use effectively to advance your brand and to find your next better job when you've been laid off or when you want to move up. And so you have to really learn these tools, and that's what we really specialize in, is loading up your toolkit with ideas and strategies and techniques so that you can do a better job managing your career and be more visible to recruiters. Okay, this is the first time I've had this question in a long time. And I do question time some nights on TikTok, and I get a lot of questions there too. I'm looking at retirement in 7 years. I've had a satisfying career, albeit very demanding, with a lot of travel. Sounds like me. I'm really getting concerned about the transition from a very active life and a lot of travel to a lot of places, very exotic, kind of life, to a job, to a stay at home and do honeydews and play golf occasionally. Well, the one thing I would tell you that a lot of people don't do in terms of planning for retirement, they don't think about how they're going to use their time. Oh, I'm going to go fishing. I love fishing. And I'm going to go play golf. I love golf. I just can't get enough. But you know what? You love golf a lot when you can't play it very much. But if you can go play it every day, all to your heart's content, you'll get tired of it. And it also gets kind of expensive. Fishing, you get tired of fishing. Unless you just live on a lake and that's just go off in a boat and sit and think and listen to music or whatever you want to do. People find out that the things that they thought would take up all their time don't take up that much of the time because they kind of lose interest in some of those pursuits. So you need to think about what you will do. Volunteering. In some cases, you'll see former physicians volunteering at free clinics. You'll see them volunteering with their churches, volunteering to do projects with the civic clubs. And so it's something you need to address. Don't just go from your job to nothing, because it will be a really traumatic experience. And if your spouse is anything like mine, she made it very clear to me that she didn't get married to me to have lunch every day. So I think that's something that you ought to consider and plan ahead. Let's see here. Okay. I'm concerned that my health system on the East Coast is going to be launching some layoffs in non-clinical areas. Can you share some advice on how I should respond? What should I expect? First of all, if your organization has more than 100 employees at the location, and most health systems do, you need to watch the WARN site, W-A-R-N. It's a government site, and it'll tell you the state site's webpage, their URL. And you go monitor that state website, because if the hospital is going to do a layoff, they are obligated by law to give you, I think, 60 days advance notice. Excuse me. And so you can watch that and get a little bit of a heads up on when the layoff's coming, so that if you really believe you're going to be included in that, then you can go find your next better job in advance before the market's flooded with people in your area of expertise. So keep an eye on that WARN site, and it can give you sometimes a valuable heads up. What is a secondary reference? We also had this question last week, so let me be very brief with you. A secondary reference is any reference that an employer or recruiter identifies and develops that knows you, that they can call for a very off-the-record, confidential conversation about what kind of leader you are, how effective are you? Are you a good communicator? Those types of things. So you want to be very careful in your questions and answers and interviews about whose names you mention. Because if you mention somebody, you want to be sure that they like you and would speak kindly of you. Do all recruiters do it? No. A lot of recruiters are lazy. They don't do secondary references. They believe that's the employer's job, and but that's what it is. Let's see. How should I react if the interviewer asks how old I am? Okay, in some states now, it's not against the law to ask age. I know that sounds really counterintuitive. It's not widespread. But, just say, I am blessed to have a lot of experience, a lot of success under my belt, and a lot of maturity, and I still have the energy to make, an exemplary contribution. A lot of people just don't even get close to that, but some people ask, questions like that and some that are not appropriate. In some states, again, that's illegal, but not in every state. Most, yes, but there are some no. And so what you want to do if you get that question, even if it's inappropriate, what you want to do is have a response in the waiting, so that when they say, well, you look kind of old, and I've had people do this to me when I was still out doing recruiting, interviewing my firm to do a search. Well, how's your health? I mean, you're kind of old. What happens if you drop dead? And, you just have to learn a way to find that, pivot from that, and say, well, I'm in great health. I feel wonderful. And I've got a great team backing me up. And so if anything happens to me, you will not miss a beat on this search. Okay. This came in also last week, but I want to mention it again. Should I use the open to work banner on my LinkedIn photo? My advice is don't. If LinkedIn's changing their profiles up right now, a lot of it behind the scene. If you go into an area and it says, there's a thing where you turn the creator switch on. Do that. If it's still on your profile, turn the creator switch on. It won't put a banner around your picture, but it will make you more visible to recruiters. I heard the term value proposition. Boy, we get this a lot, so I'm going to take some time to answer it again, because it's people come and go on the show, and they don't always hear all the questions each week from week to week. A value proposition is basically, what are you going to say about yourself when they say, hey, why should we hire you? Okay, why do you want us to hire you? And that's your ability to communicate what your value is and how you would use that value to enhance the performance of the prospective client. That statement would be your value proposition. The concept was originally created by Nancy Swain, a great coach in the Dallas market. We used to work together, and I use something called the value brand statement. It's a variation of Nancy's original work, but added a few different things to it, and I teach it slightly different way. But it's really important. People who understand their value, people who understand and have put in their heart what their value is, and they are more focused with their resumes, and they are more focused with their answers. And so understanding your value is very, very important. Okay, how should I respond about my salary when they ask, what's it going to take to get you? And I don't want to be eliminated, but I want to be able to, be effective in negotiation. Well, in some states now, they absolutely require the recruiters to put in a range of compensation. Not every state. I hope we get to that point, because there are a lot of employers and recruiters that play the dumbest, stupidest game in recruiting by not putting anything on their job summary. It looks like a great job. It's a broader scope than you currently have, and then you find out it pays less. And so you've wasted time, they've wasted time, and you can't replace that time, and you can't replace that money lost. So I wish they would all put that range. What you would expect, if you know the range, don't expect it to go outside. If you're at a management level, if you're at even a VP level, they're probably not going to be willing to go outside their range. So if it's outside, if you're making more than they're currently at the top end of their range, don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. Something is not going to work out. 99.99% of the time. So be very, very focused on those details. If they ask you, just say, well, based on my experience and my performance, I would hope that I would get an offer in the mid-range of your salary grade. Don't go to the top unless that's where you are now. And then just say, I'm currently probably at the top end of your range, and if that's a problem, I understand. But if you hire me, I guarantee you I will deliver value, I will deliver results. So that's another way to do that. Now, I want to share with you one of the big complaints is about recruiters and about recruiting and how nobody calls you back, and they don't do what they say they're going to do, and then they don't look at your resume, and they ask a bunch of questions, and then if you apply online, are you interested in applying? Yes. Then you got to fill out this application. Then you got to customize your resume, and then you don't even hear from people. And a lot of people said, I qualified for 90% of the criteria and never heard a word. Well, that's about to change. Let me tell you why. In the next 2 to 3 years, probably closer to 3, but that's just a guess, AI will progress to a point that's going to blow your shorts off. How would you like to be interviewed 24 hours a day? You set the time, doesn't matter. How would you like to be interviewed in your native language? Doesn't matter. You just tell them what your native language is. If you are hearing impaired, how would you like to be interviewed by someone who knows sign language and that can do that 24 hours a day? How would you like to be right now? If you apply online, there's a 7 and 8 chance you're out of 10. You're not even going to be considered. They're going to look at other people. So you have a 70% chance or 80% chance of failing in an online job. How would you like to be if you were 50% qualified, still have a chance for an interview? That's coming. That's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. Companies and recruiters are getting such a terrible and well-deserved rap about how bad the hiring process is, how long it takes. Companies are really pushing the envelope to implement AI. Who's going to be doing those interviews 24 hours, 24/7? It's not going to be a human. It's going to be a very adept, very well-programmed AI person or voice that knows all the issues with the job and can ask questions with some variation of responses. And so we will give up a little bit of the personal touch to speed the process, and that's something that's going to happen. I'm just fascinated with that, and we'll be doing some more research on that. So watch for my newsletter, which drops every Sunday on Substack at around noon on Sundays. We're probably going to shift that publication schedule. That's the way we started because that was the way that was just convenient for me. We'll probably start shifting that once we get some more research in on the best time to drop the newsletter. But they're currently on Substack. It's currently free. So Guiding Your Career Substack, John G. Self's column. You can also see it on our webpage at johngself.com. Just click the blog tab, and you can get it. You can get a link to the blog on our. If you're a community member in our Your Career community, you can get links to the location of that newsletter. And we try to add a little bit more depth, a little bit. We're looking at other sources for information that we want to share. Our goal is to help you master this rapidly changing job process. Again, these changes are coming so fast that if you're out there trying to find a job, first of all, at the management executive level, it's extremely competitive. It's hyper competitive. 100 to 200 applications for every job or more is not uncommon. And so for you to be successful, you have to understand how the process works, and you have to be able to deliver exceptional value in all phases of the job search process. So let's see if we have any more questions coming in. Don't see any. Let's see if I've covered everything I had marked to cover today. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. What are 2 or 3 tips to work with a recruiter? Well, first of all, they're not. Don't call them. We'll call you. Is kind of the way a lot of them operate. You are essentially your product, your inventory. And if they need you to fill a job, then they absolutely want to talk to you as soon as possible. If they need you, they don't need you. Very few recruiters I know are out there getting to know people, about to try to find, those surprising candidates. There was a search firm in the industry I worked in, healthcare, for many years, and they were always known for delivering the same kind of group of candidates. If they didn't work one search, they put them someplace else. And one guy who had interviewed candidates from this search firm at one hospital made a change to another one, and they brought in a similar panel of candidates. So it was, they were just trying to enhance their profits. And so recruiting firms they're not going to be out there looking for somebody without a job in mind. So you need to be very mindful of what's available. You need to have a very, very good network so people can alert you to when those jobs that may not be posted are available. That's what networking is really, really becoming about. And you need to be very helpful to recruiters. When they call you, don't just say, I'm not interested, and hang up. Just say, gosh, right now it's not a good time for me, but I may know somebody. If somebody comes to mind, would you like me to refer their name to you in a text or an email? Most of the time they're going to say yes. So, and they remember who's been helpful to them in the past, and who's not. And so you want to build relationships, if you can, with recruiters. Now, they are becoming less and less part of the process as AI takes over. That doesn't mean that search firms are going to go away completely, but they're going to be far fewer than there are today. And search firms will be dealing with the hard-to-fill positions and the C-suite or the senior executive team. You want to build a relationship. Search firms want to look good to their client, and you can help them look good. So that's a way to kind of consider that. Okay, well, no other questions today, so I hope this has been helpful. We're continuing to try to develop this program. If there's a better time for us to stream for you, let us know, and we'll be happy to do that. Until next Friday at 11:30, I'm John Self. Cheers. Thanks for watching.